Hi, I'm Rajiv, and today we're doing one of my favorite things to do on a nice Saturday afternoon, antiquing. When I'm traveling across America for work, one of the things I love doing when I have downtime, like I'm here for a conference and I have a day off, I love looking up local antique malls and then spending the afternoon leisurely looking for treasure that I can take back home to New York. And that's what we're doing today at the Red Barn Antique Mall here in Indiana. So when I do this, I have this feeling come over me like I'm working. I actually feel like I'm at work. And that's why I usually like to do this alone, because I need to focus. And I think if my friends saw my face while I was doing this, they'd think, why is he so serious? Like, what's going on? It doesn't look like he's having fun. Because in my head, when I'm looking around, it's like a robot scanning. I'm scanning and I'm trying to sift through what I would consider junk to find what I would consider treasure. And scanning is mentally exhausting. So you need to actually put on this mindset of what am I looking at and what am I looking for? It's different for everybody. If there's something that you think is beautiful, like McCoy, if you think this is beautiful and this is your style, and you start collecting stuff like this to put around your apartment, then when you go into an antique mall, in your head there's, I'm keeping my eyes open for McCoy pottery like this. So when you're scanning, if you're scanning and you spot something that looks like McCoy, you zero in on it and then you pick it up and you look on the bottom. Oh, look at this. This is genuinely the first time I picked this up. This is McCoy. It's the real McCoy. I collect ironstone, I collect yellowware. I'm always looking out for enamel pieces. I'm looking for silver, which is very rare. It's very rare to find real English sterling silver in a place like this. I love looking at linens, old towels, crockery, mason jars, old mason jars. So there's stuff like that that I have in my head as my repository of things that I'm always looking for. And when I'm scanning to see if there's stuff like that in here. And then if there is, I pick it up and I look at it. The other thing about this is sometimes I find something that's just something I wasn't expecting to see that has caught my eye that I'm excited about, and then I look at it and I take that home. So that's the other fun part. You might not know what you're looking for, and you'll find something that gives you an idea to actually use it. So let's do this together. One of the things that always catches my eye, one of the things I love seeing, even if I'm not going to buy them and take them home, are these beautiful mixing bowls, these yellowware mixing bowls. These are iconically American, usually made in Ohio. Most of them come from a place called Roseville, Ohio. And they're often marked at the bottom, but when they're not marked, I can just tell. So a lot of people ask, well, how can you tell? How do you know? How do you learn how to look at things and know where they're from? It's experience. And you actually have to pick this stuff up. You have to hold it in your hand. You have to learn the weight of something. You learn by picking something up over and over and over again, what a glaze feels like, what the actual clay feels like. The biggest influence for me was working for over 10 years at Pioneer Village in Toronto. We actually worked as historic interpreters with old things. The bowls and the plates and the linens that we were using, they were old. I was making cakes in a bowl like this with a wooden spoon. So I learned from using this stuff from the 19th century, what 19th century China in all different versions felt like. So that's how I just know now. And I've done a bunch of research. Okay, let's go back to these yellowware bowls. Yellowware bowls made in the States. What's fascinating about these bowls is that they were fired in a certain way. And Guy Wolf, my pottery mentor, was explaining to me that when you look at bowls like this band is called a chime ring, and it's glazed, but if you look at the top, it's unglazed around this rim. And if you look underneath the rim, it's also unglazed. And there was a reason. It's because they fired these stacked. Like this bowl would be in a tower of about 30 bowls stacked in the kiln. And if it's glazed and you stack them, the glaze will melt and the bowls will stick together. So there needs to be a place where there's no glaze where they can stack, and this is the place. So this rim would sit on this part of the next bowl, and you just have a big pile of them in the kiln. So that's kind of fascinating to see. Guy also explained that this unglazed rim on a bowl was a place where people sharpened their knives. They would actually run the knife along the edge of this unglazed part. So sometimes you do see on these bowls little parts that are really worn down or that are kind of bumpy because people were sharpening their knives on the edge of the bowl. So look at this. Here's a little yellower bowl, and here's the next size up of the same bowl, and they're in really good condition, and the price is also great. So this is the thing about antiquing. You start learning about prices and what's reasonable, what's a great deal, what's overpriced. I've seen many bowls like this size in perfect condition for 90 to 120 bucks, and this bowl is $34. So that is a great price. It's in perfect condition. I don't see any cracks or chips. I have a shelf full of these bowls, so I don't need it, but in a previous iteration of my life, I would have bought these right away and taken them home. Lovely. So here's something, a little old jar with a metal lid, and it looks like it's in great condition. I love taking spice bottles from the grocery store and dumping out the spice into an old, beautiful container, and then putting this in my cupboard so that when I open the cupboard, everything in there is beautiful. My kitchen is so small that I don't have space for a lot of stuff, and the stuff that has to be in the cupboards, I want it to look great. So I'm always keeping my eyes peeled for just little beautiful jars that can replace the ubiquitous ones from the store. Look at this little thing. It has a little bubble in it. And this metal lid, like this tiny thin tin lid, is so cute that it was made for this little jar. That might have to come to New York. Sometimes it's also just nice to look at something that was beautifully made. It's like going to a museum and looking at an artifact, but being able to actually pick it up, open it up, hold it in your hands, and then put it back down. That's part of the thrill of being in a place like this, just looking at something. Like old fur capes and stoles that you've seen in movies from the 50s, or I've seen in movies from black and white movies from the 50s. What did they actually look like? Like, we've seen them in movies. Did we know what the insides looked like? So you find something like this, and just opening it up and looking at the inside, this lining on this little collar is all hand stitched to the edge. Look at this little mortar and pestle. So here's a stoneware mortar. Is this the mortar or is this the pestle? Mortar, no, pestle.
Yeah.
Pestle?
Yeah.
Mortar. A crock on the kitchen counter to hold tools. Classic. I just love these small crocks, and you don't usually see like small sweet crocks like this. I got this from my friend Christian. When I lived with him for a brief period of time, he always had all of his tools in a crock on the kitchen counter, and then when I moved out and I had my own place, I just had to copy Christian because it was perfect. So now I would like to influence all of you to go out there and find a nice old crock to put your utensils in. If that's the only thing you have on your kitchen counter, it should be one of these. Do you have a cat? Do you have a dog? Because if you have a pet, every one of you that has a pet should have a nice pet bowl that was made by Robinson Ransbottom. Robinson Ransbottom was a big pottery in Roseville, Ohio. They made all kinds of things. They made crocks, they made mixing bowls, but they also specifically made dog bowls. And these are the iconic Robinson Ransbottom yellowware pet dishes. They are made out of the same yellow clay, and they have an unglazed bottom and an unglazed top for stacking in the kiln. They would just be stacked from the ground up, and sometimes they actually say on the outside, D-O-G, dog. That's the one that I have at home for Prince, a dog bowl. This one is unmarked. It has the remnants of a Robinson Ransbottom stamp on the bottom, but this tiny little bowl, $16. If I didn't have one already, I would definitely get this. I might actually just get it and give to someone as a gift, because this is a great gift for someone that has a pet that doesn't have a dog bowl. I think people should carry around baskets. You should ditch those hideous nylon grocery store bags that roll up into a little pouch, and everyone should start carrying around baskets again to take to the grocery store. Just look how beautiful this is. This is the pattern of yellowware bowl that I have in my kitchen. The yellow bowl with the reddy brown stripe and white stripes in the middle. These are early. These are like 1860 to 1880. So this is a yellowware bowl. Again, probably made in Ohio, but it's early. It's an early yellowware bowl, and it has slip trail decoration. So these bands are actual clay that would have been put on the bowl when it was wet, and then it was dipped into a glaze and it was fired. Beautiful, beautiful bowl. Like the profile, the shape, the subtle curve to the rim and the foot is what makes this a spectacular profile for a mixing bowl. To me, it's a work of art that's also functional. But here we go. So you pick it up, you look at it, there's a crack right here. And that is a no-no for me. At this point is when I would put this down, because this is no longer in the running to become America's Next Top Model for mixing bowls, because it has a crack. Now, when I'm looking around, I'm not just looking for utilitarian things. Sometimes there's the odd decorative piece that I think, oh, that might really look nice in my apartment. So again, this is all by taste. What do you like looking for decorative wise? Like, this just caught my eye. I wouldn't necessarily take this home, but I like it. And if you see something and you like it, just pick it up, look at it. It's paper mache. Sometimes when I'm just glancing around, I'll spot something like kind of far away, and it'll just call me to it, and I have to avoid going right over there because you need to do things in a sequence. So you look, but there's something over there that's calling me. Okay. Here's another one of those yellowware bowls, and the kind that I actually have in my kitchen, the kind that I have a few of them that I have acquired over the years. This looks like it is in great condition, not a chip, not a crack. The inside looks great. It's $52. So here's a bowl, perfect condition, good price, not a great price. If this bowl was $100, I wouldn't be surprised. It's 52. It's good, but because I have a shelf that has no space on it, I can't justify taking this home with me for this price. So then it goes back down. But just the thrill of picking it up, looking at it, seeing it in perfect condition, that in itself is a joy. So here's, maybe we get away from this music. Here is a perfect example of an old version and a newer version. I just know this is old from years and years and years of looking at yellowware bowls and picking them up. I know how this was made. I know that this was clay that's called slip that made these bands. I can see that this was actually trimmed by hand. There's some trim marks here that you don't see on every one of these bowls. So my experience with clay, my experience with collecting this type of yellowware makes me just know right away what this is and know that it's old, 19th century, early 20th century. Here is a version that is not old. This is a modern version that is nowhere near as beautiful as this thing. Can you see that now? So this is also a yellow bowl that has stripes on it, brown and white stripes. Look at the bottom. It says over and back yellowware. So this is a modern version of this bowl. Night and day to me. That is gorgeous. This is not. Okay. Oh my God. Well, I'm glad it was the new one. It was 18 bucks, that's okay. Never done that before. Okay, so you have to be really careful when you're holding things, because if you break it, like I just did, you gotta pay for it. I'm glad the new one was the one that I broke, which I have to go upstairs and pay for now. The wonderful thing about slowly acquiring objects that are old and beautiful that were collected from all your travels is that while you use them, you're reminded of your travels. They're souvenirs, but they're souvenirs that are more than just something you put on the shelf and have to dust every couple of weeks. They're things that you're going to be handling, you're going to be using on a daily basis, and that just add to the practice of your life because they have much more meaning from where you found them and how you found them, that you actually hunted for them and discovered them. Look!
Okay. Sold.
$15. So, okay, so here's the thrill. Downstairs, I saw one of these bowls, Robinson Ransbottom. I said, oh, sometimes they say DOG on them. And then upstairs, the Robinson Ransbottom bowl marked Roseville, Ohio. It's a 5.5-inch feeder, and it says DOG on it. So I have one of these. I use it whenever Prince comes over, when I'm dog sitting my neighbor's dog, Prince, and I love it. It lives in the kitchen because I love it so much. And here's another one, which you don't see very often. The last time I saw one of these, it was 50 bucks in Connecticut. In a fancy town in Connecticut, it was 50 bucks. And I was like, should I get this as a gift for a friend? And I didn't. Now, here in Indiana, it's 15. This is definitely being purchased today. So this is the thrill. Okay, I'm gonna obsess a little bit about these bowls. One of the things I love is the font, the very subtle font that's not a standard font, it's a circus font You can see these curly cues on the O and the curly cues on the G. This is a font that was used in Victorian sign painting, specifically circus lettering. So I love that that's what's on this bowl. I also love that just the simple statement of dog, like the bowl just says, dog. It's so, you're using this word again, it's so cute that there's the bowl just states this bowl is for the dog. So finding one thing like this where you spent hours looking and then you find that piece that just makes you so happy, it's what makes it worthwhile. Like long after the trip, every time you pick it up and you use this thing, you remember this trip in rural Indiana where you found the dog bowl and how happy it made you finding this on the shelf. That never goes away. Years and years and years later, I pick things up in my kitchen and I remember where every little thing came from and how happy it made me when I found it. My onion basket in my kitchen, my little dog bowl, my ironstone plates, my ironstone sugar bowl. I remember where each one of those things came from. And that's really special, that these utilitarian objects are imbued with a sense of all the travels and all the different places that they came from. So this piece made this hunt worthwhile. This little dog bowl today. This is the gem. This is the find of the day.